The mining outpost floated silently above the icy surface of Valoria, a small moon at the edge of human-controlled space. Its metal structures reflected the faint glow of distant stars, giving the station a cold, almost lonely appearance. Inside the outpost, the air hummed with the low vibration of machinery, and every step echoed against the walls, reminding anyone inside that they were far from the warmth of home. Liam worked alone in the maintenance tunnels, his hands steady as he tightened a series of cables feeding the power core. He had always preferred quiet work, where focus mattered more than words. The tunnels were narrow and dimly lit, the lights flickering slightly as the station's energy levels fluctuated. Outside, the wind from the frozen surface howled against the station's hull, but inside, it was just Liam and the machines. He had been at this outpost for almost 6 months now, months where the cold never let up, months where every day felt the same, and yet he continued. Liam had a way of making the impossible feel ordinary. When things broke, he fixed them. When systems failed, he found solutions. It was not that he was stronger than others, it was that he refused to give up. And then he heard it, a small, trembling voice echoing down the tunnel. It was soft, almost too quiet to hear over the hum of machinery, but it carried a weight that made him pause. I can't take it anymore," the voice whispered, shaking as if every word took a toll on the speaker. "How do humans endure this?" Liam froze, listening. The voice was unfamiliar, not human. He tightened his grip on the tool in his hand and slowly followed the sound. As he moved deeper into the tunnel, the voice grew clearer, desperate and tinged with fear. Finally, around a corner, he found her. She was sitting on the floor, her back against the cold metal wall, legs folded awkwardly beneath her. Her skin had a faint lavender hue, and her large, almond-shaped eyes shimmered in the dim light. Her uniform was that of a Valorian officer, the elite soldiers of her planet, but it was wrinkled and dirt-stained. She was trembling, hands wrapped around her knees, and every exhale seemed to struggle against her chest. Liam approached slowly, hands visible, showing he meant no harm. "Hey," he said gently, his voice calm. "I'm not going to hurt you. Are you okay?" She flinched at the sound of his voice, but slowly looked up. I don't know," she admitted. Her voice was almost breaking. "This environment, it's too much. How do humans survive this? I can't even breathe properly in here. The noise, the pressure, the isolation." Liam knelt down to be at her level. "You're in a human station now," he said. "It's cold, it's noisy, and it's harsh. I get that. But humans, we adapt. We find ways to keep going, step by step. That's how we survive." Her eyes widened. "Step by step, that doesn't make sense. How can you keep going when everything is against you?" "Because we focus on the next step," he explained, reaching out to gently guide her up from the floor. "Not the whole mountain, just the next step. That's what gets us through." She tried to stand, but her legs wobbled. Liam caught her by the arm, steadying her. "Take it slow," he said. "You'll be fine. Just breathe." For a moment, they stood together in silence. Her species was not designed for harsh environments like this. Their bodies were sensitive to vibrations, noise, and cold. Humans, on the other hand, had learned to endure harsh worlds over centuries of exploration and survival. She was starting to understand, but her pride made it difficult to admit how much she needed help. "Name's Lara," she said finally, her voice trembling less as she regained control. I'm an officer on assignment here. I never expected this." "Liam," he replied. "I fix things here. Machines, systems, sometimes people, too." He offered a small, reassuring smile. "You're safe now." She looked at him, studying his calm expression. There was something about him, something steady that made her feel slightly less fragile. "Safe," she repeated, almost to herself. I've never felt safe in situations like this." "Then you'll have to start somewhere," Liam said quietly. "And it starts here, with one step at a time." She nodded, letting him guide her down the tunnel. Each step was a struggle for her, but Liam never rushed. He adjusted the pace to match hers, speaking softly when the vibrations from the station's machinery threatened to make her panic. As they walked, Alara couldn't help but ask questions. How do humans endure so much? Liam considered her question. We endure because we know that every challenge has an end. Sometimes it takes days, sometimes months, but there's always an end. And until then, we keep going. That's all there is to it. Alara listened, absorbing every word. She had seen courage before, but this was different. Humans didn't just fight with weapons or strength, they fought with patience, with persistence. With every step, she felt a strange admiration forming for the species she had only studied from afar. They reached a small alcove near the surface of the station. The lights here were brighter, the hum of machinery slightly quieter. Liam guided her to a bench built for maintenance crews. "Sit," he said. "You need to rest." She sank onto the bench, breathing heavily. "I don't understand," she admitted, voice low. "I've trained for combat, for difficult environments. But this, it's too much." Liam shook his head gently. "It's not that it's impossible," he said. "It's that you haven't faced it like humans do. You're looking at the whole mountain at once. Try looking at the next rock, the next step, and the next. Focus there, and the rest will come." She looked at him, eyes wide, and for the first time, she felt a strange hope. Maybe I could try that." "Good," Liam said. "And you won't be alone. I'll help you." Step by step, they spent the next hour in quiet conversation. Liam taught her small breathing techniques to calm her nerves and methods to ground herself. When the station's vibrations felt too strong, Alara tried them, fumbling at first, but slowly finding some stability. With each small success, her confidence grew. As night fell on Valoria's icy surface, the station dimmed its lights to conserve energy. The corridors were quieter now, the hum of machines blending with the distant winds outside. Alara looked around, realizing that the station no longer felt completely hostile. With Liam's guidance, she felt a little more human, a little more able to endure. She turned to him, voice soft but steady. "Liam, why are you helping me?" He shrugged. "Because you're struggling, and I know how it feels. Humans endure, but we also help each other along the way. You wouldn't survive alone, and neither would I." Alara considered his words. On her planet, soldiers were expected to survive on their own, to face danger without reliance on others. But here, with this human, she felt something she had never felt before: trust. Step by step, she whispered to herself, testing the phrase on her tongue. "One step at a time." "Yes," Liam said, standing beside her. "One step at a time." And for the first time since arriving on this cold, lonely outpost, Alara allowed herself to believe that she could endure. Not because she was strong enough, but because she had someone to guide her. Someone who understood the human way of surviving. The hum of the machinery continued. The lights flickered slightly, and the outpost remained cold and silent. Yet in that moment, in the small alcove near the surface, two beings from very different worlds shared a fragile connection. The darkness around them no longer seemed as threatening. Alara took a deep breath, focusing on the step in front of her, just as Liam had taught her. And with that, she stood, not perfectly steady, but standing. Liam smiled at her. "Good," he said. "Now, let's keep going." She nodded, determination flickering in her lavender eyes. The journey ahead would be difficult, but she would face it, one step at a time. And as they moved forward together into the tunnels, the outpost seemed a little less empty, a little less cold, and for the first time, Alara understood the human way, how they endured the impossible, not by strength alone, but by persistence, trust, and the courage to take the next step. The day had begun quietly at the Valoria mining outpost. The sun on the distant star cast a pale light over the icy surface outside and inside. The corridors were filled with the usual hum of machinery. Humans were used to these sounds. To Alara, every vibration, every metallic groan, felt like it could tear her apart. But she had learned to control her fear, at least a little, under Liam's guidance, this morning. However, the calm was broken. A loud alarm echoed through the station, accompanied by flashing red lights. Alara's heart jumped into her throat. She had not expected anything like this so soon. Liam, however, remained calm. His expression was focused, his movements measured. "Reactor instability," he said, scanning the readouts on a nearby panel. Power levels are dropping fast. We need to check the reactor chamber. Alara's hands went to her uniform. I can't. Not there. It's too loud. Too much. Liam looked at her for a long moment. I know it's hard, but if we don't go, the entire station could fail. You can handle this. I'll guide you. Step by step. Her eyes widened. Step by step again, she whispered. But deep down, she trusted him. She had seen how humans endured the impossible, how they moved forward even when everything seemed against them. The two of them moved quickly down the narrow corridors toward the reactor. The station groaned under pressure, warning lights flashing around them. Every step caused vibrations to pulse through the floor. Alara had to bite her lip to stop herself from panicking. Liam noticed her hesitation and slowed his pace. Focus on me, he said softly. Ignore everything else. One step at a time, she nodded, her grip on his arm tightening as they passed a maintenance hatch that rattled violently. The closer they got to the reactor, the louder it became. The sound was a constant high-pitched vibration that seemed to pierce her ears. She clenched her teeth, reminding herself of his words. Step by step. Focus on the next movement. When they reached the reactor chamber, Alara froze. The enormous cylindrical core hummed and spun, glowing faintly with energy. Sparks leapt from broken circuits, and thick cables swayed dangerously overhead. The air was hot and dry, and the vibration shook the metal floor beneath her feet. I can't do this, she said, her voice trembling. You can, Liam replied firmly. I'll be right beside you. Watch what I do, and follow. Step by step, Alara took a deep breath, remembering his teaching. She focused on the floor beneath her feet, on Liam's steady presence, and slowly began to move forward. Every step was a battle with her body, her senses screaming that this environment was unbearable. But Liam guided her hands, showed her where to brace herself, and talked her through each small movement. The problem with the reactor became immediately clear. Something inside the core was draining energy in a strange, erratic pattern. The redouts flickered wildly, warning of imminent failure. Liam studied the data, frowning. This isn't normal, he said. There's something inside the reactor. It's moving. Alara's eyes widened. Something. Moving. Like. Alive, possibly, Liam said, examining the core. We'll have to investigate it up close. The thought made her stomach turn. She had studied mechanical systems, but nothing in her training prepared her for a moving, unknown entity inside a live reactor. Her body trembled, and she had to grip the edge of the platform to keep herself upright. Breathe. Liam said softly, noticing her struggle. And out is slow. Step by step, she obeyed, following his guidance, her fear slowly giving way to determination. She realized that humans were not fearless, they just refused to give up, even when they were afraid. Together, they entered the inner chamber. The entity inside the core was strange, a small mechanical creature, almost insect-like, feeding on the reactor's energy. Sparks flew every time it moved, and the vibrations intensified. Alara wanted to retreat, to run back into the safety of the corridor. But Liam held her hand. You're stronger than you think, he said. Humans endure because we face what's in front of us, no matter how scary. You can too. Her body shook violently, but she nodded. Step by step, she approached the machine, watching Liam as he began to work. He distracted it by manually diverting some energy lines, keeping it focused away from her. Now, he said, pointing to a control panel. Use your sensors. Find where it's vulnerable. You can do this. Alara swallowed hard. She had never used her abilities under such pressure. Her eyes scanned the machine, noticing patterns in its movements. She signaled to Liam, pointing to a series of cables feeding its core. He nodded, understanding her plan. Together, they worked. Liam guided her movements, steadying her whenever she wavered. Sparks flew, and the machine hissed and moved rapidly, but Alara kept her focus. She remembered every lesson he had taught her, every word about humans enduring step by step. A sudden jolt from the reactor threw her off balance. She stumbled, almost falling into the reactor, but Liam caught her in time. You're doing great, he said. Keep going. Her lavender eyes filled with tears, not from fear, but from the realization that she could do this. She could endure, just as humans did. With a trembling hand, she reached for the cables she had identified and severed the energy flow to the machine's core. The mechanical entity shuddered and sparked, then stopped moving entirely. The reactor stabilized, lights returning to normal, and the warning alarm ceased. Alara sank to the floor, exhausted, her whole body trembling. Liam knelt beside her, offering a steadying hand. You did it, he said softly. See? Step by step. She looked at him, disbelief in her eyes. I actually did it? You did, he confirmed. And you didn't give up, even when it was impossible. For the first time, Alara felt a sense of pride that she had never known before. She had faced the reactor, the machine, the fear, and she had survived. Not just survived, but succeeded. As they made their way back to the main corridor, Alara leaned on Liam's arm. I still don't fully understand humans, she admitted. How you endure such constant pressure, such danger. How you keep going every day. Liam smiled, though his face was streaked with sweat and grime from the reactor chamber. It's not that we're stronger than others, he said. It's that we focus on the next step. We help each other, and we refuse to give up, even when it seems impossible. You did the same thing just now. Alara looked at him, understanding dawning in her eyes. Humans endure because they face the impossible directly, not alone, and without letting fear stop them. She had faced it today, guided by Liam, and she had survived. By the time they returned to the control room, the rest of the crew had begun assessing the reactor. They were surprised to see Alara, still trembling but standing tall beside Liam. Some whispered about the alien officer's bravery, while others marveled at the calm and skill of the human engineer. Alara's chest swelled with a new understanding. Humans were not fearless, they were persistent. They endured because they acted, even when everything inside them screamed to stop. She had witnessed it firsthand, and now she felt a spark of that same endurance within herself. Later, as the station settled back into routine, Alara stood by a window, looking at the icy surface of Valoria. She could still feel the vibrations of the reactor, still hear the echoes of the alarms in her mind. But she also felt something else: hope. She had survived, and she had learned from a human how to endure. When Liam approached, he found her staring out at the frozen landscape, her lavender eyes reflecting the faint light of the distant stars. You okay? He asked. I think I am, she said softly. Thank you for teaching me, step by step. I understand now, he smiled. Good, and you'll only get stronger from here. The next challenge will come, but you'll face it. Step by step, she turned to him, a faint smile forming. I want to face it, she said. I want to endure, just like humans do. Liam nodded, silently proud. He knew the road ahead would be hard, that there would be more danger, more fear, and more trials. But he also knew that Alara had taken the first step, and that was all that mattered. And for the first time, as she looked at him with determination and trust, Alara felt that human endurance was not a mystery, it was a choice she was ready to make. The Valoria mining outpost returned to a fragile calm after the reactor incident. Lights hummed steadily, machinery vibrated at predictable levels, and the distant icy wind swept across the surface. Outside, but for Liam and Alara, there was no real rest. The events of the past day had changed something between them, something unspoken but powerful. Alara had never faced danger like that before. The fear she had felt in the reactor chamber still lingered in her body, but it no longer paralyzed her. Instead, it ignited a spark of determination, a growing understanding of the human way. She had seen courage in action, persistence in motion, and the quiet strength of someone who refused to give up. And for the first time, she wanted to emulate it. Liam was already preparing for the next inspection of the outpost systems. Even after handling the energy-eating machine, the station was not fully stable. Another anomaly had been detected in the deeper maintenance tunnels, and the outpost leadership was nervous. They considered sending only experienced human engineers, believing that alien officers would not survive the harsh environment. But Alara refused to be left behind. I'm going, she told Liam. Her voice was steady now, more confident than it had been when she first arrived. "I want to help. I can do this." Liam studied her for a long moment. Her lavender eyes reflected determination, and her posture, though slightly tense, showed that she was willing to endure. He nodded. "All right," he said, "step by step. I'll guide you, just like last time." The tunnels were narrower this time, and the hum of machinery was louder. Sparks from exposed circuits leapt occasionally, casting strange shadows on the walls. Alara felt her chest tighten as the vibrations pulsed beneath her feet. She glanced at Liam, and he smiled reassuringly. "One step at a time," he whispered. "Focus on the next movement." They moved together, their boots echoing against the metal floor. Alara noticed small details she had missed before. The way Liam adjusted his stance to maintain balance, the calm rhythm of his breathing, and how he always anticipated obstacles before they appeared. Humans endured, she realized, because they combined awareness with patience. When they reached the area of concern, the tunnel widened into a circular chamber filled with old machinery. A faint blue glow came from a series of panels along the walls. The anomaly was clear. A network of malfunctioning circuits had begun to overload, creating arcs of electricity that jumped unpredictably. Alara froze for a moment. "It's worse than the reactor," she admitted. "It's not impossible," Liam said calmly. "We just have to approach it like humans, one step at a time, assess, plan, and act." She took a deep breath, letting his words anchor her. She stepped forward slowly, watching Liam move with precise efficiency. He tested the panels, rerouted circuits, and kept the dangerous sparks away from her path. With every step, Alara learned not just about machinery, but about endurance itself. The anomaly was more than a simple mechanical failure. Something deeper was affecting the circuits, a strange interference that disrupted the energy flow through the tunnels. Liam realized they were dealing with an unknown source, something that no protocol had accounted for. "We have to go inside the main conduit," he said. "It's risky, but it's the only way to stabilize the system." Alara's stomach tightened. The conduit was narrow, filled with exposed wires, and the energy pulses made the metal floor vibrate violently. Her body trembled. But she remembered the human way. Focus on the next step, one movement at a time. Trust your companion. As they entered the conduit, sparks flew from broken lines, brushing dangerously close to her arm. She flinched, but Liam grabbed her hand to steady her. Step by step, he reminded her. "You can do this." Inside, the environment was even harsher. The vibrations made her knees weak. The heat from the conduits pressed against her skin, and the sound of electricity coursing through the panels was almost unbearable. But she pushed forward, studying the patterns and the interference, just as Liam had taught her. "You're doing great," Liam said, noticing her determination. "Humans endure not because they aren't afraid, but because they act anyway." Alara nodded, repeating the phrase in her mind like a mantra. She reached the main junction where the interference originated. A tangled mass of wires sparked and hissed, the energy surging in chaotic pulses. The only way to stabilize it was to manually reroute several circuits simultaneously, a dangerous task that required both precision and courage. "Ready?" Liam asked. "I think so," she said, swallowing her fear. "Good, follow my lead." He worked first, rerouting one set of circuits. Sparks leapt near his gloves, but he remained calm, breathing steadily, moving with confidence. Alara followed, using her alien senses to detect the weakest points in the surge. Her hands shook, but she moved deliberately, guided by Liam's instructions. A sudden arc of electricity surged toward her. She froze, her body almost giving into panic. Liam's hand closed over hers, pulling her to safety. "Focus," he said softly. "One step at a time. You're stronger than your fear." Her lavender eyes filled with determination. She steadied herself, approached the junction again, and carefully connected the circuits. The sparks died down, the surge stabilized, and the blue glow of the panels returned to normal. Alara sank to the floor, her body trembling with exhaustion. Liam knelt beside her, smiling proudly. "You did it," he said, "just like a human." I couldn't have done it without you," she admitted, voice shaking but filled with awe. Humans, you endure through everything. You never stop, even when it seems impossible. That's right, Liam said, and you didn't stop either. You adapted, you trusted, and you acted. That's what endurance is. Alara looked around the chamber, her eyes reflecting the glowing panels. She realized that she had changed. The fear that had gripped her in the tunnels was no longer overwhelming. She had faced danger, uncertainty, and extreme conditions and survived. Not because she was invincible, but because she had learned to endure, step by step. Just like a human dot as they made their way back to the main quarter, Alara felt a quiet pride. The human's way of enduring was not mysterious, it was methodical, patient, and persistent. And now, a part of that way lived inside her. The crew of the outpost watched in amazement as the two returned. Some whispered about Alara's courage, others about Liam's calm leadership. But what mattered most to Alara was not the recognition, it was the knowledge that she could face what had once terrified her. Later, when the station settled back into routine, Alara stood in the observation deck, looking at the icy surface of Valoria. Her body still ached, her hands still trembled slightly, but her mind was calm. She had endured. She had learned. Liam joined her quietly, standing beside her without a word. She glanced at him, eyes softening. I think I understand now, she said. Humans endure not because you are fearless, but because you choose to act, even when afraid. He nodded, smiling faintly. Exactly, and you did the same, today. You faced what most would run from. You acted, you endured. That's all that matters. Alara turned back to the window, the frozen moon stretching endlessly before her. The fear had not vanished entirely, it never would, but it no longer controlled her. She could feel the strength building inside her, a quiet determination to face whatever came next. And she knew one thing clearly. She wanted to learn more from humans, not just about endurance, but about courage, patience, and persistence. She wanted to walk the human way, step by step, and see how far she could go. Liam placed a hand on her shoulder, sensing her thoughts. The next challenge will come, he said, but I know you're ready, step by step, Alara. That's the human way. She nodded, a small smile forming. Step by step, she repeated. And in that quiet moment, two beings from different worlds stood together, ready to face the trials ahead. The outpost hummed around them, cold and silent, but within them was warmth, trust, and a growing sense of courage that neither of them had felt before. The journey was far from over. Greater dangers awaited, but Alara had taken the first real step toward understanding humans. And with Liam by her side, she was prepared to endure anything the universe could throw at her. The Valoria mining outpost had finally returned to a sense of normalcy, though the events of the past days lingered in the minds of its inhabitants. The hum of machinery was steady, lights glowed consistently, and the icy wind outside blew across the barren landscape, indifferent to the struggles of those inside. But for Liam and Alara, the calm was deeper, quieter, and filled with a new understanding. Alara stood on the observation deck, her lavender eyes fixed on the frozen horizon. She had endured the reactor, the tunnels, the mechanical anomalies, and each step had taught her something new about humans. Not just their ability to survive, but their courage, patience, and persistence. She felt a quiet strength inside her, a resilience she had never known before. Liam approached quietly, holding a small data pad in one hand. They finished reviewing the systems. He said softly, "Everything is stable now. The outpost will continue its operations without interruptions for now." Alara nodded, turning her gaze back to the icy landscape. I never realized how humans endure," she said quietly. "Not because you are invincible, but because you choose to act even when everything is against you." Liam smiled faintly. "Exactly. Humans endure because we act. That's all that matters." For a long moment, they stood in silence, watching the pale light of the distant star reflect off the frozen surface. The stillness was almost complete, broken only by the faint hum of the outpost's life support systems. Alara's thoughts wandered, remembering the fear she had felt in the tunnels, the trembling in her body, and the panic in her mind. She had thought she would never endure it, but she had. "Liam," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. I want to understand more. I want to learn. To live like this, to endure like humans do. He looked at her, noticing the sincerity in her gaze. Then you will, he said. But it won't be easy. Step by step. That's how it works. She nodded, determination flickering in her eyes. Step by step, she repeated, testing the words on her tongue. They felt powerful now, a mantra for survival and courage. Just then, the station's communicator beeped urgently. Liam opened the channel. Engineering, go ahead. A tense voice responded. Sir, we've detected a small energy fluctuation in the outer mining shafts. It doesn't appear dangerous yet, but it's unusual. Liam turned to Alara. We'll check it out. You're coming, right? Alara took a deep breath. The thought of entering another potentially dangerous area made her chest tighten. But she remembered everything she had learned. Step by step. Trust in her own endurance. And trust in Liam? I'm coming, she said firmly. The outer shafts were cold, dark, and narrow. The low hum of machinery was replaced by the echo of distant drills, and the icy walls reflected the flickering light of their headlamps. Alara moved carefully, focusing on each step, each breath. She felt the fear rising, but she didn't give in. She was no longer the frightened officer who had whispered in the tunnels. She was someone who had faced impossible odds and survived. Liam guided her through the shafts, pointing out the minor fluctuations in energy and the unusual patterns they created. They worked together seamlessly, a partnership formed through shared trials and mutual respect. As they reached the source of the fluctuation, Alara noticed it immediately. A small, damaged mining robot had short-circuited, creating sparks and unstable energy readings. Normally, the situation would have terrified her, but this time, she approached calmly, guided by Liam's steady presence, step by step. Liam reminded her softly. She nodded, reaching for the panel that controlled the robot's circuits. Her hands moved deliberately, rerouting power and stabilizing the machine. Sparks flew near her arm, but she did not flinch. Each connection was made with careful precision, and soon, the robot powered down safely. Alara exhaled, a quiet laugh escaping her lips. I did it, she whispered, disbelief and pride mingling in her voice. Liam smiled, placing a reassuring hand on her shoulder. Yes, you did. Step by step, they returned to the main corridor, and Alara felt a sense of accomplishment unlike anything she had known before. The crew of the outpost gave nods of respect, but Alara's focus was on Liam. He had not only guided her through danger, he had taught her the human way. Later, in the quiet of the observation deck, Alara turned to Liam. Her eyes reflected the distant stars. I understand now, she said softly. Humans endure not because you are fearless, but because you keep going, even when fear is real. And you taught me that. Liam looked at her quietly, feeling a warmth he rarely acknowledged. And you endured. You didn't stop, even when it was difficult. That's the human way. But it's also you now. Alara felt a strange emotion swell inside her. Respect, admiration, trust and something deeper, unspoken. She had learned endurance, yes, but she had also learned the value of partnership, of facing challenges with someone who believed in her. Liam, she said softly, her voice breaking the quiet, I want to keep learning. Not just about endurance, but everything you do. Step by step, he nodded, smiling faintly. And I'll guide you, step by step. For a long while, they stood together, watching the frozen moon stretch endlessly before them. The harsh world outside seemed less intimidating now, because they had each other. The silence around them was no longer empty, it was filled with understanding, trust, and quiet hope. Days passed, and the outpost continued its work. Alara adapted more and more to human endurance, taking on small missions, learning to navigate the harsh environment, and acting with calm determination. She faced difficulties, yes, but she faced them with the human way, focus on the next step. Act despite fear, and trust in those beside you. One evening, the outpost gathered for a routine briefing. Alara and Liam stood together as the station commander praised their recent work. The crew watched with respect, and for the first time, Alara felt that she truly belonged in this human environment not because she had changed her species, but because she had learned to endure, to act, and to grow. After the briefing, the corridors emptied, leaving only the soft hum of machinery. Alara and Liam walked quietly to the observation deck. She leaned on the railing, her eyes on the horizon. "You've changed," Liam said softly. She looked at him, eyes shimmering with quiet emotion. I understand now. Not just how humans endure, but why. And I want to continue. I want to keep learning." Liam smiled, feeling the same quiet pride he had felt since the beginning. "Step by step," he said. "Step by step," she echoed, a small smile forming, for the first time. Her voice broke the silence not with fear or despair, but with hope. "Liam, thank you for teaching me, for trusting me, for everything." He nodded, his expression calm but warm. "You don't need to thank me. You endured because you chose to. That's what humans do. And now, you can face anything." Alara looked out at the icy horizon again, feeling a connection not only to the human way but to Liam himself. She realized that endurance was not just about surviving. It was about growing, learning, and trusting both in oneself and in others. The silence of the station was no longer empty. It was filled with unspoken understanding, with courage, with hope. And in that silence, Alara's voice rang clearly, breaking through the shadows of fear and uncertainty. "I can endure. I can face this world. And I will." Step by step, Liam nodded quietly, standing beside her. "And I'll be here." Step by step, together, they watched the distant stars and the icy surface of Valoria. They had faced impossible odds, endured fear, and emerged stronger. The journey ahead would be difficult, as it always was in the far reaches of space. But they were ready because they had learned the human way, and because they had learned to trust one another. And for Alara, that was the greatest lesson of all. Endurance was not just surviving, it was living fully, learning, and finding strength in the connections we form along the way. As the outpost settled into quiet routine, two beings from different worlds stood together, ready for whatever challenges lay ahead. The universe was vast, unpredictable, and harsh, but now, it was not frightening. It was something to face, to endure, and to grow from, step by step. Alara's voice broke the silence one final time, but this time it carried strength, hope, and determination. "I can endure. I can face anything." Step by step, Liam smiled, his eyes reflecting the distant stars. "And I'll be here, every step." The cold world outside remained unchanged, but inside the outpost, something remarkable had shifted. Fear had been replaced with courage. Isolation had been replaced with trust. And despair had been replaced with the quiet, enduring strength of beings who had learned to act, to persist, and to live. Together, they would face whatever came next step by step.